What's happening, friends? Welcome back to Dynamo DeFi. My name is Patrick, and on this channel I talk about cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, and economics. Today's video is about Optimism. Optimism, the Ethereum Layer 2 scaling solution, has airdropped its OP token ticker is OP, to thousands of people, and today I'll go through which people qualified. Some of you may be eligible for this airdrop, how to claim the airdrop, how to use Optimism, and then some current yield farming DeFi opportunities on Optimism. Let's get into it. First, what exactly is Optimism? Optimism is what's known as an Ethereum Layer 2 scaling solution, which many of you are probably familiar with. And what that means is that from a user perspective, it feels like you're using a separate chain, but unlike other chains, it settles its transactions ultimately onto Ethereum. So it inherits the security of Ethereum while having enhanced performance, lower fees, faster transaction speeds, etc. And it uses something called optimistic rollups to do this, hence the name Optimism. Some other scaling solutions you might be familiar with are Arbitrum and Polygon to some extent, although some people argue that. And so that's basically what Optimism is, and they did not have a token because since it's an Ethereum scaling solution, it uses ETH as gas. So even this new token they airdropped, OP, will not be used as gas. It's a governance token. So that's why they talk here in this announcement that they're introducing the Optimism Collective. So that's basically the DAO, if you want to call it that will be performing governance on the Optimism network. And they'll be using the OP token to do it. So I personally was not eligible for this airdrop, but a lot of people are talking about it, and many of you are probably eligible for it, so I wanted to cover it anyways. No affiliation with Optimism, certainly, but people who are eligible for it are the following groups. So first is people who have used Optimism in the past. It makes sense, right? People who have used Optimism repeatedly in the past have an additional bonus airdrop, so that's pretty cool. Rewards your most loyal users. People who have voted in DAOs on Ethereum are eligible. So you'll notice that they're not just airdropping to people who have used Optimism, they're also airdropping to people who have performed various tasks on Ethereum in the hopes that this attracts them to using Optimism. So DAO voters, like I said, multi-sig signers, so people who have signed multi-sigs on Ethereum, Gitcoin donors, so that's basically a way where you can fund grants in a decentralized manner. People who have donated to that will be eligible for this airdrop, and users who are priced out of Ethereum, which I believe they define that as people who were using DeFi and Ethereum who then bridged to other chains. I don't remember the exact criteria. Unfortunately, that does not include people who started off on other chains like I did, and so was a little disappointed on that, but it's their airdrop. They can airdrop it to whomever they want, and you can't really complain about not getting free money, right? I know people are gonna anyways, but it's their free money to give to whoever they want to give it to, right? But many people got very nice airdrops, sometimes worth thousands of dollars. So definitely check it out. You can go to app.optimism.io/airdrop/check. And there you can check if you're eligible. Then you can also claim the airdrop if you're eligible. A bit more about Optimism. The fees are, as of the time I'm making this, to send Ethereum about 64 cents and to swap tokens about 95 cents. So not cheap compared to something like Solana or Phantom, so some of these other layer ones that are basically free. However, very cheap compared to Ethereum, where it's about $15 to swap tokens right now. I mean, 15 is just not realistic for most people in the world, so that's pretty cool. And Optimism has managed to attract some users. They have about $300 million in TVL right now. I was expecting this to jump up more after they airdropped this, but I guess we'll see what happens, right? The market is in kind of a funny place right now. And the token itself, OP, again, this is not suggesting you go out and buy it, but also not suggesting you don't buy it. I'm just going to try to cover it as best I can. You can see that it is about $1.30 right now, and it got as high as over $2 right after it launched, and then retraced about 50%, and then has sort of stabilized for now. I mean, it's still the first day, so who knows what's going to happen. The thing to keep in mind is that a lot of people are down really bad, right? It's the market's really gotten hammered, and a lot of people are down bad, and this might be the first win that they've had in months. So it's not surprising if a lot of them choose to take some of that money and go elsewhere. I will warn you, though, that in the Optimism governance forums, they have been discussing not getting future airdrops to people that dump this one. And based on where the token price settles, that may or may not still be advantageous to sell it, but that is something to consider before selling it, right? Not financial advice, still make your own decision. And if you do decide you want to buy OP, then you can buy it on KuCoin, which is my favorite exchange. Link down in the description with a referral code if you don't have an account, so you can get 10% off trading fees. So you can go buy OP there if this does sound enticing, or you can buy it on chain, of course. And I'm going to go through some DeFi protocols on Optimism in just a second. So that's a bit about the Optimism token. The network itself does have some interesting protocols on it. So the largest is Synthetics. Synthetics is sort of one of the DeFi 1.0 OG DeFi protocols. So it's been on Ethereum for a while, and they chose Optimism as their scaling solution. And you can see that it's currently more than a third of the TVL on Optimism is specifically on Synthetics, which has about $125 million of TVL. Basically, Synthetics is a protocol for synthetic assets, right? And Uniswap also is on Optimism, about 38 million. Some other familiar names you probably know, like Curve, Synapse, which is a major bridge, Aave, and so on. But then there's also some other protocols that are specific to Optimism. There's Perpetual Protocol, that may be on Ethereum as well, but regardless, they geo-block American users, so I wasn't able to use it. There's Lyra, there's Hop Protocol that we're going to look at in a second, which is another bridge. And there's ZipSwap, which is sort of the native DEX to Optimism. In ZipSwap, I was expecting the TVL to go up. I haven't personally entered any of these yet because I haven't bridged to Optimism. The network's been just a little crowded since they started this airdrop. I was expecting the ZipSwap TVL to go up, and it actually has not. So very curious what's going on there. But those are the protocols, and I'll go through some yield farming opportunities. But if you want to bridge either to get your airdrop or to use any of these, the best two bridges that I've found are Synapse and Hop. So Synapse, you probably are familiar with already. Hop is hop.exchange. And Synapse, just for people who are not already familiar with it, even though it's one of the largest bridges, that's synapseprotocol.com. So synapseprotocol.com, and you can bridge to Optimism, or app.hop.exchange. But if you do decide to check out the DeFi on it, either because you want to hunt out good yields or you want to potentially make yourself eligible for a future airdrop, then Synthetics is the first one that caught my eye as the largest protocol on the chain and as sort of a OG DeFi protocol. Currently, you can stake SNX, which is the governance token of Synthetics that also receives fees on there. And right now the APR is about 84%, which is really nice, right? I mean, that is really good single-sided on an asset that's this established. So that's staking.synthetics.io. And of course, you have to connect to the layer 2 to do it because Synthetics is also on layer 1, but the rates aren't quite as good. Then there is Uniswap, which isn't going to have the incentivized fees, but will always have pools like Uniswap does on any network. Then there's Curve as well. So you're probably familiar with Curve, largest stablecoin swap on most networks. Personally, I'm not a fan of stablecoin farming. This goes back long before the whole Anchor debacle, but unless the yield is really good, I just have a tough time justifying the risk. But for those of you who are interested in stablecoin farming and want to get some exposure on Optimism, they do have DAI USDC USDT 3 pool, and the rate's around 10%, so decent, but again, personally not a fan, which is why I don't usually cover many stablecoin strategies on this channel. There's also Hop Exchange. So again, this is a bridge, but you can also add liquidity here. And so if you add ETH, the rate is, for some reason, this is not showing the rate, but it's around 25%. So I don't know why it's not showing right now, but ETH is around 25%. USDT is 29%. That rate is really good. Okay, so there's the ETH rate, 24%, but back to that USDT rate, I mean, 29%, that is starting to get interesting to me, right? Where it might be justifiable. But still, I mean, that ETH rate is also nice, right? 24%, and that's single-sided on ETH is not easy to find in this market. So regardless, I don't know whether this protocol, seems pretty reputable, but you should still do your own research as far as whether these protocols are trustworthy. Truthfully, I have not looked into whether this one is audited, so definitely be careful before depositing things in there. But I know they have a good reputation as a solid bridge. And even, by the way, even audited bridges and even audited things can be exploited. So that's not a cure-all. It's just one layer of protection. But yeah, ETH single-sided 24% is pretty decent. And then the sort of degen farm on the chain is ZipSwap, which I mentioned before. It's the native DEX on the chain. And this is where you're going to find the really good rates. You have ETH OP. So if you do decide you want to hold or buy this OP token, you can bring it over here to ZipSwap, pair it with ETH. And currently the APR is 728%. And a large part of that APR is because the fees are so high from people selling OP or buying, but many of them are selling. The fees are so high from that the APR is around 730% right now. And you know, that's pretty nice, right? That's a pretty nice yield, 2% a day. Tough to complain about that. But they have decent yields in other pools too. ETH USDC is 83%, ETH BTC is 18%, and then they've got some smaller tokens as well. Geom ETH is 42%, not bad if you're into those tokens. Anyways, again, this is in a bear market. It's not the time to be chasing whatever the highest yield is. It's the time to find tokens that you're bullish on anyways, and then find ways to earn yield on those tokens. And if you're between two tokens and one has better yield, then yeah, that can be the deal breaker. But I wouldn't be aping into stuff. Personally, I'm not aping into stuff just because it has a high yield right now. But if you do decide to hold OP, then pair with ETH and 730%, not bad. And that's basically the gist of Optimism. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Were you eligible for the airdrop? Feel free to brag about it. I won't hold it against you. I hope that some of you were able to have a win even in this market. And again, referral link to KuCoin if you do decide to buy OP on there. That's all I got for today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And until next time, this is Dynamo DeFi.